Oh, look at that. We're in the wrong spots. Anyway, welcome everybody into the show. Of course, this is a little bit early for us, but we are still the Friday evening guys underneath some Friday night lights. So we are going to keep this amazing show that we've got for you guys, lined up, and we're still going to get it all out there and put it out in podcast form later if you missed it. But Justice, before we even get into what we're doing today, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's the weekend. I gotta wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Feeling good. The Buffalo Bills are playing football tomorrow. That's always a beautiful thing to be able to say.
It's a great feeling.
We're going to watch 17, 14, 13, 88, 86, and 4. We're gonna watch them boys go out there and put on a show. I should probably say like 50 or 58, 58.
And I don't know how I feel about that. We're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yes,
we're going to be
that's
seeing
a fair
them.
point. That's a fair point. However, it still is exciting.
Yeah.
Even if you may not agree with them being out there per se, it's still exciting to think about the prospect of getting to watch those guys take the field. And, if you guys remember, I don't know if it was last year or the preseason before, but they played the Packers and went bananas. And it was just like, oh my God, we're about to rout everybody. So, man, I'm super excited to see what they got in store for us. How about you, Jake?
Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. I'm kind of in a mobile setup here. I'm at the parents' place this week, but thankfully my dad also has a Bills themed room, so it still kind of just matches the aesthetic. But of course, with this giant show that we have lined up today, what is up, Robbie? This whole show that we've got lined up today, it's all brought to you by the beautiful people over at 26 Shirts, as is every show on the Buffalo FAMbase YouTube and podcast network. And of course, you guys are tuned into one of the best shows in Bills Mafia, BILLT Different. I am Jake, a.k.a. the Northeastern Nostradamus. He is Justus, a.k.a. the GM. And we're about to get right into this show. And to start off the show, it's kind of the welcome already. We've kind of done the welcome. We kind of skipped right past this. I forgot to do this with the graphic. So we're going to get right into it. We're talking about the preseason, Justice. The first game already happened. We kind of saw what some talents could do. We've got some talents that have been brought in now. So let's talk about the preseason a little bit. What were your thoughts after watching however much of the preseason game that you did, and kind of who was kind of a standout there? What did you think? And a guy like Andy Isabella gets brought in. What do you think of it in addition like that going into this week's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, I was at FINA Fest on Saturday when it took place. So that was a blast. Maybe one of the funnest days of my life, I would have to say. Shout out to John Fina, Mimi Fina, the Dan brothers, all those guys, everybody who made that a great time. So, needless to say, I didn't watch very much of the game that day. We watched maybe the first quarter, and then everybody kind of started like playing cornhole and kicking soccer balls and whatnot. But I am technically a journalist now, so I had to go do my due diligence.
Look at you.
Right?
Look at you.
I had to go do my due diligence and watch the game. And a great journalist I am, I had my notes, but I don't know where they are anymore. But I pretty much remember everything that I was thinking of. I mean, see, I don't, because it was a lot, right? Because when you do what we do, and Jake, you can appreciate this. You have to pay attention to everything, and you also have to be able to diagnose everything.
Yep.
So it's like a lot of nuance in the sense where some things lead to other things, right? Like for instance, let's start with the defense on Saturday. Defensive line, at least the first team reps, phenomenal. Those boys looked amazing. Tim Settle was embarrassing people. Puna 4 embarrassing people. Gregory Rousseau got a lot of action. He made a lot of really good plays. I talked about this last night on Believe, but one of my favorite plays was when he didn't even make the tackle on the play. Still was one of my favorite. Anthony Richardson did a QB option. Now, Anthony Richardson, his RAS score is a 99.9. Most athletic quarterback that has ever been tested at the combine. And there was a QB option, and Gregory Rousseau, he didn't play too tight and go in for the runner. He didn't play too wide and allow a lane open for the runner. He played it almost perfectly, shoulder square, everything to the quarterback and the running back. Richardson kept the ball, and he made a miss. He did make Rousseau miss. However, I'm not too worried about that because, again, this kid is a 99.9 RAS score. You're not going to see too many guys with that type of athleticism.
Sure.
Lamar, Justin Fields, maybe end of list. Jalen Hurts, possibly. But as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of the list after Lamar and Fields. So 98% of quarterbacks, you made the perfect play right there. And I really like that. AJ Epinesa, not AJ Epinesa, Boogie Basham had a really good game. He was out there making plays that made me say, oh, wow, maybe we don't need to trade him, right? Because I was pretty much done with him. I'm not going to lie. I didn't even need to see this preseason. I was just like, he's not going to get better. Let's get rid of him. But he's out there making a difference versus at least second stringers. Maybe not a ton of ones, but he at least made plays against twos, right? Which if you're a second round pick and going into your fourth year, you need to be making plays against ones, right? Or you need to be dominating twos if that's who you're going up against. So the defensive line overall really, really impressed me. And that kind of led to, I would feel like what was an impressive day from the defense. Another standout I would have to say is, boy, oh boy, listen, man. Before DeMar Hamlin's injury, I'm not going to lie, I was not like the biggest DeMar Hamlin fan. I was like, he kind of feels like a liability a lot of times out on the field. After the injury, obviously, there was nothing but love and support, rightfully so. I'm not BSing when I tell y'all he was out there going crazy. DeMar Hamlin was in on every single play, on every tackle. Like, he was out there going crazy. He was all over the field. And I was just like, wow. It was a hell of a boost of, confidence that he got because he was everywhere. And I think one thing about DeMar before he got injured is that I rarely, he'd be on the field and I forget he was there. Yeah. You couldn't forget that he was there on Saturday for the plays that he was on the field. He was all over the screen. So he looked really, really good. Our guy Trayvon Howard for the simulation plays really well. He did a really, really big play there on the 2-point conversion. I feel like the corners, Elam kind of got cooked a little bit. But I'm not too worried about it. It's the first preseason game. He's got plenty of time to adjust. And Taylor Rapp was out there, kind of a little underwhelming to me, just because I was. And again, this is the first preseason game with limited play. You're not going to go out there and get 4 interceptions or something crazy like. So I don't know. I didn't expect a crazy amount from him, but I would like to see more from him tomorrow. But just staying on the defensive side, I feel like those were some of the things that stood out to me upon my rewatch. That has me really, really excited for the upcoming season. How about you, man?
So I watched in bits and pieces, and kind of the whole point that, it's preseason. I'm really paying attention when the guys that I know are going to be the second string guys are kind of going to be the dudes that are first up when somebody goes back, right? Like somebody's like, okay, yeah, no, he's hurt. Who's the next guy coming in? I want to know who that guy is because that guy's important. So I'm watching, and I don't know if I had this conversation with you, but I had the conversation with my brother earlier, maybe like 2-3 weeks ago at this point. And I asked about the preseason. And how long do you tune into a preseason game before you tune out? Because for me, even though I'm full in and want to watch this stuff and know preseason football after about the first half becomes such a slog to try to watch.
Yeah.
Like it's a glorified XFL game at that point, you know.
To be honest.
So and trust me, I've watched a lot of those games, so I know. It's like I go and I decided, you know what? He said, no, I watch every single second of it. I said, I tune out at about halftime. I thought that I would go and put a poll out on Twitter because I wanted to know. And I was going to use it for information for this show. And I put out a tweet and it said, I just had this convo with my brother yesterday about preseason football and I want to get your guys' take. How long does it take you to tune out of the first preseason game after being hyped for it? I had put 3 answers. After the first, halftime, I stay locked in all game. 49% of people said after the first.
Oh, wow.
32% of people said halftime. And 19% of people say I stay locked in all game. And those 19% of people are liars. Thank you.
Liars.
They are lying. Because it's preseason football. We love football's back. That's great.
I will say this. Real quick, I don't mean to cut you off. If it's the Bills, like, I have to pay attention to the guys who maybe aren't even making a team. So, like, I'm not necessarily locked in, but I will care more. But if I'm watching, like, the Bengals versus the Packers, I could care less after I see, Jordan Love get off the field and, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase get off the field. I don't care anymore.
So just in essence, now the second preseason game coming up. The first one, the defense, Dane Jackson solidified he's going to be CB2, and the coaching staff kind of already showed that he's going to be CB2. So I wouldn't even. I mean, he gets the interception, and they immediately just pull him off the field. They're like, "You're done." I'm like, "Yep, that's all you need to do in the preseason to have McDermott go like, I was right. You're CB2." So like. That happened, and then I was like, okay, what's going on at the middle linebacker spot? I think that's going to be a huge problem this year. Do I think that McDermott's going to be able to scheme around it? Yeah, I think so. But I think we're going to have struggles over the middle of the field. Like, you thought it was bad. Like, the people who thought it was bad when we had Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano in the middle of the field, and they were still like, no, that's not good enough.
Spoiled.
They are about to see what the middle of the field and not being able to be covered actually looks like with the middle linebackers that we have on this roster right now. But offensively, I got to say, Osiris Torrance, man. He's starting right guard.
It was a brick wall. Dude. Oh my God.
He did exactly what he did in college and is moving it here to a pro level. I mean, like he was a man amongst boys in college, and now he's a man against other men, but he's still a brick wall, dude. Like you can barely move him. Josh Allen is going to love him. I love the way that our offensive line kind of looks outside of the right tackle position, which is so important. But we can talk about kind of your things when we get to the offensive line. And backup quarterback is kind of another maybe concern for me because Kyle Allen looked like dog water. I'm sorry. I don't care if Ken Dorsey says, well, actually, him and Matt Barkley graded out to have the same performance. It didn't look like it.
No, they didn't.
You're not pulling the wool over my eyes, Ken Dorsey.
I wasn't as upset with Kyle Allen's performances as everybody else was. Like I still feel like he made some good throws. I feel like he looked extremely uncomfortable in the pocket.
Yeah.
He was just tap dancing, jumping around. Like he looked really erratic. But when he caught his focus, he looked like, he could do some cool things. Matt Barkley was on another planet. His only incompletion was a dead drop. Like, crazy. He was on another planet. There's no way they tested the same.
Crazy. Yeah, I don't know what test, they're really like, oh, he graded out. The eye test told me that Matt Barkley looked a hell of a
Every
lot better.
test told you
Yeah.
Matt Barkley.
Matt Barkley looked better. And for me, that's a problem. You know why? Because I've seen Matt Barkley against starting NFL competition, and it's not very good. So I'm saying, like, okay, if he's looking better than Kyle, now granted, Barkley kind of got some play against maybe even lower tier dudes.
Third fingers,
Yeah, third stringers.
guys who are not
Still,
making the team. Yeah.
yeah. Here's the thing. A lot of people are concerned about the backup quarterback position. And sure, you want a guy who will be serviceable when you go in there. But let's be honest with ourselves. If Josh Allen goes down and your backup quarterback has to go in for any significant amount of time, it doesn't matter. You're screwed. You're screwed. Like, nobody's going to be, you're not going to have a backup who's going to be comparable to Josh Allen.
Unless
You're
Patrick Mahomes is your backup quarterback, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the closest thing we had was Mitch Trubisky, and he's not Josh Allen. So, yeah, like, Mitch could probably come in and still run some similar concepts. Matt Barkley can't. Like, you have to completely change up how you're playing if you're going to have him or you're going to have Kyle Allen back there. Kyle Allen, a little bit more athletic, probably could get away with a couple more things. And we've seen Kyle Allen at starting level positions have some good games. So I know that he can kind of do that, which is why I'm a little bit more excited for him to be the backup quarterback, because I think that just with more time and getting comfortable with the offensive scheme and the O-line and everybody, I think he'll be just fine as a serviceable backup quarterback. So I'm not concerned about that. But the big overarching picture here is if Josh Allen goes down, it doesn't matter who your backup quarterback is. You're screwed. So because Josh Allen makes this offense, like, he is the lifeblood of it. So that's kind of my take on that. Let's go into the offensive line here before we get into this beautiful tier list that we have set up here. The offensive line, Brandon Shell. This was news to you in the in the pre-show.
I didn't even know.
Brandon Shell retires, a guy that we brought in and was like a veteran that we kind of brought in for a backup role. Yeah, he up and said, I can't do this no more. So he left. And then he got placed on the injured/retired list or whatever. And then we have Spencer Brown is still that right tackle. We saw Tommy Doyle, and I thought Tommy Doyle looked pretty good until he got rolled up on. And then you're like, oh, come on, man. Like, this dude can't catch a break.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because that right tackle position for Josh Allen, that one feels almost like paramount to your tackles for any quarterback. You should have at least two stalwart, solid tackles for any dude that you want to call your franchise, right? Mm-hmm. Spencer Brown, I don't know what it's if you can say that a question mark was in human form, it is Spencer Brown. So, Justus, your kind of take on the offensive line and the makeup that we have, I feel like we've got a stud at right guard, but right tackle, huge question mark. Is that somewhere where you go, maybe if Spencer Brown just isn't good, do we start looking at Ryan Bates to try to play some tackle? Is that what we do?
I mean, I said that in the offseason. I was saying, after we drafted Osiris Torrance, I didn't know why right guard was even like a question. I don't know why that's a competition that's happening. What we really need to be doing is we really need to be testing the right tackle position. We need to be sending any and everything at the right tackle position and see who comes out on top. Ryan Bates, Nick Broker, Edward, like whoever, everybody. Yay, hey, go stand over there and let's see what you can do. Because I mean, listen, Spencer Brown is young. I guess there's a chance he could develop into a good player. But we trying to win a Super Bowl right now, and we really can't afford to be like teaching people how to play the position, right? And if we can afford to do it on job training. Like
Yeah.
you need to be a backup or practice squad player while you're developing. We can't have you out there every Sunday letting people bully you. And Josh now has to make magic every time. He has to, I
Yeah.
mean, and Josh does it 65% of the time. He's going to make a guy miss. So it looks a lot, it doesn't look as bad as what it actually is. But we can't keep relying on that. Like at a certain point, we're going to need Josh to just stay in the pocket altogether
Yeah.
and play and win the game with his mind and his arm. And because at some point he's not going to be able to use his legs anymore, or at least not as effectively as he currently does.
Sure.
So we need, first of all, we need that talent. We need that those skills, that skill set in itself of being able to play as a pocket quarterback. We need that skill set to be honed, because if you kept Josh Allen in the pocket and say you can never run, he's still a top 5 quarterback in this league. It's just that he turns into an S tier player when he scrambles outside of the pocket.
Yeah.
He's still an A-ranked player. A-ranked player in the pocket, maybe even S tier, right? So, we need to see some results from the right tackle position. We do. I'm going to say Deion Dawkins is completely, off the, hot seat. But we paid him, so that's the guy, right? But Spencer Brown, you ain't got
we've
paid
seen Deion Dawkins at a height where you're like, okay, this guy deserved to be paid, Whereas when we see a guy like, let's say, Spencer Brown, it's really hard because whether you want to like actually admit it or not, I don't know who's scouting their offensive linemen, but they suck. Like
That's them and the defensive scouts for the most part. At least for the even without Von Miller, they suck. So
yeah,
like the trenches, whoever's scouting those guys, ain't it.
Have them start bagging groceries at Walmart because they don't know how to actually evaluate talent, right? Like these guys, and maybe they had other guys on the board that didn't get picked, whatever. But when I look at it, it's like, if Spencer Brown doesn't work out, how much time do we give Spencer Brown before we realize, oh, he's just what we thought we had in Cody Ford? Just another guy that got drafted and it didn't pan out, and we kept giving him chances and it didn't work.
No, because Cody Ford was a 2nd-round pick. We invested in him. We had to try to make that work, or else it was just a wasted investment.
True.
Spencer Brown is not an early pick. I don't care. Like he's not. He was
he's
not.
Still,
he was.
He's a 3rd-round pick, right?
I think he is 3rd or 4th.
He's the 3rd-round pick because Doyle's the 4th-round pick or the 5th round.
For me, that's less of an investment.
Sure.
Right? Dorian Williams was our 3rd-round pick this year, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a chance that he doesn't play this year, right? So I doubt it, because I think he's good enough to where he's going to play. I'm just saying that if your 3rd-round pick isn't productive after 3 years, you have no problem cutting him.
Sure.
That's not even going to be an issue. Your 1st-round pick, you're going to be like, all right, let's give it another year, and then we'll not pick up his option. Your 2nd-round pick, I guess we'll give it another year. After that, it's if you ain't working out, you ain't working out.
I think the big problem is our 3rd-round pick is currently our only option at right tackle.
Yeah, that's
really.
The problem.
That's the kind of thing where Cody Ford was. We were like, oh, he can kind of, have time to learn and develop behind people. Spencer Brown is just being thrown into the fire.
That's true.
And usually they don't like to do that. But when he got thrown in there, I mean, it's just showing, at least from what we've seen now, things could change. But, it doesn't look like he's taking the leap that we need for this offensive line to truly be able to fully protect Josh Allen. So that's kind of my problem there. was wanting to trade Epinesa for a backup right tackle. I still don't think trades are out of the possibility going into the regular season.
I don't know
I
about that. I
no,
mean, well, I'm not about you. I don't know about a player for player. I don't know how much I can
Epinesa
work.
for the right tackle, but yeah, I could still see some of these dudes who are maybe fringe, the younger guys. I could see them being possibly traded instead of just cut if the Bills decide
Yeah.
to go in that direction. I also wanted to bring up this one that John Bean must sign Anthony Barr at Mike linebacker. Look, we need
Is
anything.
is Anthony Barr not on the
Yes,
team?
he's still a free agent. He's still a free agent. And a lot of people are like, it's because he's washed. I don't care if
Mm,
he's washed.
I
At
don't know,
least
bro.
if you have a washed older linebacker who's had Anthony Barr is the linebacker that Josh Allen jumped over in his first rookie season.
Yeah, he is.
So it's kind of like Anthony
And
Barr
then
has been that kind of dude in the league. And even if he's taken a step back, what you could bring that guy in for and then utilize him in the scheme that you were already going to use for these maybe subpar linebackers that don't really have the experience. Anthony Barr, I think, would make a ton of sense, and I wouldn't see why they wouldn't bring a guy like that in. Like, they just brought in Andy Isabella. Did we really need anybody else at the wide receiver position? No. Like, we didn't
no, but
really
I'm
need
glad
it,
they
but
brought him in.
but I'm glad they brought him in. So I'm saying they might think, oh, we don't really need anybody at the middle linebacker, which if they think that, they are absolutely blind. But yeah, Barr is kind of just sitting out there. And I think that kind of like if you get that veteran presence in there, I know they feel like, oh, we've got AJ Klein, but like we need a dude who's been the Mike and is that guy in the middle. And Anthony Barr's been that guy, and he's still sitting out there. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. I like that one, John. But Justice, do you have anything to say on that before I move us into the tier list?
You took the word, like you took the player literally right out of my head. I was gonna say you can't say somebody is washed if you're a Bills fan in particular because we watched AJ Klein come in. He was garbage at
Oh
first.
my God, man.
He was terrible. And we was
Yeah.
like, this guy is washed. Get him off the field. Why is 54 out there? And then he just became the most consistent linebacker that we had on our team.
Dude, that
Like
Seattle game where he
he
just absolutely was torturing Russell
he
Wilson
went
was amazing.
nuts. Like he went nuts. He was sacking, he was tackling, he was covering. I was like, yo, where did this come from? So like you can't say somebody, especially somebody who has the talent that Anthony Barr has, is washed. I mean, because a lot of situations, a guy just like, defensive coordinators change. The ins and outs of specific defenses change, and that changes your role. It changes the production that you bring. So,
Yes.
like you can't put look at Mario Williams, perfect example, was a dog. I mean, from Houston all the way till he got to Buffalo, was a dog. And then Rex Ryan comes in. He wasn't washed. Rex Ryan had him dropping in the coverage. That doesn't mean that he sucks now, right? So, yeah. So I appreciate that, John. But yeah, so I like Anthony Barr. I would like to bring him in. There is nothing wrong with getting some veteran leadership on this team. We are a
No.
relatively young team, to be honest with you. Like we got a lot of really young players.
Yeah.
And we are racing to a championship. So I don't need more young players. I don't need more inexperienced players who don't know what it is to win. Like, all right, cool. Like we got talent to develop here, and you do need that. We have an access of that.
Yeah.
What we don't have an access of is veteran leadership that's won before, that knows how to lead, that's gotten the big paycheck. You know what I mean? So they're not necessarily worried about money or not gonna, create a stir in a locker room because they're not getting paid what they want to get paid. Like, you know what I mean? This is a guy who fits that mold. He basically, Von Miller's still a dog, but like what we thought we were getting from Von Miller. I don't know how many of us thought he was going to have 8 sacks before like the 10th game. Like he went crazy. So I see Anthony Barr as like a potential this just leader in the locker room who brings consistent development or consistent production to the field at a position where we don't have a veteran. I mean, like we got Terrell Dodson, but Terrell Dodson has not been a starter in this league for an extensive amount of time. So I don't even know how much of a like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's where I come in with like a guy who's gotten the big contract, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what you get out of Anthony Barr. And I definitely think that could help us out, if nothing else, at the linebacker position.
Anthony Barr is actually a guy that when we lost Tremaine Edmonds, I was like, either get Anthony Barr, Bobby Wagner, just one of these dudes that if you can't get anybody, just get a solid veteran that you know you can put in that position. And Anthony Barr was kind of one of those ones that I feel like really did not benefit from Mike Zimmer being fired as the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. And then when they took over with a brand new defensive scheme, they went from I believe it was a 3-4 to a 4-3. That completely changes everything. When you've been predominantly playing, and don't take my word on that, it might be the other way around where they were playing 4-3 and switched to 3-4. Anyway, like when you completely change up like that, when you've had success in this system your whole time, it's going to take a little time to adjust. And after 1 year, he has kind of a down year. They're like, he's washed. Let's cut him. He's too much money when they're trying to rebuild. I don't understand it. So I think Anthony Barr still being out there is an option that the Buffalo Bills, I'm sure, have talked to. I'm sure they've talked to Anthony Barr at some point in the offseason. And I think it's probably just like a money thing right now. And they think that they can do something in-house and they have that confidence. But I don't really think that going into the season, they might learn the hard way that, actually, we don't have many options here and we're getting absolutely cooked. So that's kind of, some preliminary stuff with the preseason and the offensive line. We've kind of gone into different directions with this, but of course we have to move on to the creme de la creme of the show, which is the NFL preseason tier list. So of course, we've got a tier list here. And you can see it says Super Bowl favorites, contenders, playoff teams, slightly less mediocre at best, and legit trash. And we're going to go through. This is just in the preseason where we think these teams are. And we're going to kind of get where me and Justus's heads are at, where we think these teams rank in the hierarchy of the NFL teams this season. We might be wrong. We might be completely spot on. So that's kind of, I have faith because usually we're pretty good at predictions. So
we got the Northeast Nostradamus, bro. How can we miss anything?
Exactly. So if you want to start, we'll start with the Saints, right?
The New Orleans Saints.
The Saints, and honestly, I think they're like a middling team, but not as bad. I think they could still make a push for the playoffs in the NFC.
Really? Oh,
I think they're like I think they're like a wild card team,
And Michael Thomas is coming back this season.
Yeah.
So
and they have Derek Carr. So
I was going to entrench them right in mid. But you bring up a good point. They have Derek Carr now, who has won in this league, or. I mean, he's won.
And he's a slightly less mid quarterback. So
yeah. Exactly. Michael Thomas was a very good wide receiver before he got injured or held out or whatever it was he did.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara, still a dog. They got Chris Olave. Yeah, I could see them. I could see them making a playoff push, especially in that terrible NFC. The Falcons suck. The Panthers suck. And the Bucks suck. So I can see slightly less mid.
I think they are slightly less mid. Now we get to be completely unbiased here, Justus. Miami Dolphins, legit trash. No. So in honesty, I think they're a playoff team. Playoff team. I don't think
People
they're
gonna hate
Super
me.
Bowl contender.
People gonna hate me for this. I do think they're Super Bowl contenders. I do. I think that
You do?
I do. Because if
They just
Tua
lost
didn't
Teron
get
Armstead, and they lost
for
Jalen
what the
Ramsey.
season,
I don't.
Teron Armstead's gone for the season.
He got carted off the field the other day, so I don't know. We might have to look that up, but I know Jalen Ramsey's at least gone for a majority of the season. And then Teron Armstead, if he's out, pray for Tua. You know, if Teron Armstead's done, Tua, the rest of that offensive line is.
He's hoping for a week one return, which means
Okay.
he's not going to be gone for an extensive
So
period.
you think they're Super Bowl contenders?
I do think they're Super Bowl contenders. I will say that when they had Tua originally, before he rocked his brain a few times, they were extremely confident and they played like it. I don't think that their win versus the win versus the Bills was Mickey. Like that wasn't real.
Yeah.
That was legit just like dehydration on the Bills' part.
Yeah.
However, for them to be in the game in the first place is a testament to them. To be able to come back against the Ravens like they did is a testament to them.
Sure.
I think that having a full season under the belts, I think Tua is a C+ quarterback. But a C+ quarterback plus Tyreek Hill plus Jalen Waddle is crazy. And then they always have a good defense. Javon Holland is a dog. If I could have any player from any team in the AFC East, it would either be Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, or Javon Holland. Like, he's in my top 3, like, legit. I think Javon Holland is really good. They got a pretty good defensive line. Christian Wilkins, what's the kid? Jalen Phillips.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins, I think they're pretty legit, bro. I don't know if they're going to mess with us, but I think as far as the rest of the AFC is concerned, they're above a lot of those teams to me.
So I think they firmly sit at the top of playoff team because the collapse of the second half of their season last year when they got
lost their quarterback though.
No, not even when Tua was playing.
He was playing a part of that
from
5-game losing streak?
From that, he played 4 of those games.
Oh, did he? Okay, never mind. I take all that back then. I thought he was injured.
No, the Chargers game, the Chargers wrote the book on the Miami Dolphins on how to stop them. Hit them at the line early, throw off Tua's timing, and then after you do that, he's a spot thrower. He even said in a press conference not 2 days ago, basically confirming that he's a spot thrower. He's like, yeah, the timing sometimes. He even brought that he doesn't turn his head sometimes. And when he does, he's just looking off a defender, just going to his first read. Dude doesn't know how to read a damn defense. It's absolutely killer to me. And it's why I think that now last year, it was kind of a year for the Dolphins to, surprise everybody because Mike McDaniel, nobody knew what he was going to do with that team. Now they do. In the second half of the year, teams knew what to do against that system. Now, can they change it up? Yeah, they can change it up. But I think the second half Dolphins team, with how inconsistent they were and how teams were attacking them, it's going to be exactly like what teams did when Josh Allen was just going deep all the time. They were like, we're going to drop back 2 safeties and we'll see if they beat us. They were like, the book is written on them. I need to see them overcome that. I think they're a top of playoff team. They're going to stay right there at number 1 in playoff team. But I don't think when some of the teams that we're going to put in Super Bowl contenders are just apples to apples, I don't think they're there. But I think they're damn close.
Okay, so they lost, or the concussion. I know he got 1 concussion from us. He got 1 from the Bengals.
Yep.
The following week. When was the 3rd concussion? Who was that against?
I don't remember because I know Skylar Thompson had to play.
Because that's right. It happened in it was either 16 or 17.
Yeah.
Because they wanted him to play
in the
in the
playoffs.
playoff game.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not happening. The
Yeah, the
NFL makes
NFL
way
wouldn't
too
let
much
them.
money.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so he did play all those games when they lost. All
Yeah.
Right, fair enough.
So
I actually wouldn't have them at the top of playoff teams.
Yeah.
Because I was under the impression he got injured and then they went on a losing streak. But no, they went on a losing streak.
I've now started looking at the comments, and I see, got exposed. I think Tua was exposed.
Yeah.
Tua had crazy good stats when healthy. I hope he misses. Well, I don't hope he misses any games.
Yeah, I'm not wishing that on nobody.
Yeah.
Although
I think he'll be a little bit more figured out. And behind that offensive line that he's got right now, if Armstead isn't back, within the first kind of like 5 weeks, you better pray for Tua.
Better wear extra cage in his helmet.
Yeah, you better pray for Tua. All right, Baltimore Ravens.
I want be jelly.
I want your take on the Baltimore Ravens, because I think that my only problem with them is just that they always are good, but Lamar always gets hurt at the most inopportune time. Always, before they can make the playoff run, And they almost beat the Bengals last year with a backup quarterback. So, just like
they did. Tyler Huntley is a dog. I like Tyler Huntley. He might be the best backup in the league. I got them as Super Bowl contenders. Because I was gonna say Super Bowl favorites, but that's a fair point. Lamar does get injured quite often.
It's always
the
worst time.
I think that getting paid, especially the way he got paid and how much he got paid and how much he got paid guaranteed, I think he'll be more inclined to stick it out.
Come back and play through an injury a little bit.
Yeah. Having, I think they got Zay Flowers. They got Odell Beckham Jr. as well. You got two absolute freaks to throw the ball to, so that you don't have to do everything by yourself. And on top of that, you still have your legs, which are maybe the most dangerous legs in NFL history. I have them as a Super Bowl contender, and their defense is always pretty good. So
yeah, I think too that the Ravens are going to be a team that I think if you played the Ravens against the Dolphins, I mean, we saw it last year. The Ravens kind of just gave that game up, but the Ravens, they're a good team. They are, and when Lamar is on, he's on, and I think he's just gotten better. And now that he's paid, I think that they're going to be a team that I don't know why anybody would just give the Bengals their division next year, because the Ravens,
4 teams are problems.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of the Bengals, they're the next team. They're also a Super Bowl contender.
Mediocre at best.
All right. But the Bengals, I've always given them their flowers. I like them. I like them as a team. Do I feel any kind of negative feelings towards them because of how
they're fans?
Yeah, how they kind of like
ass fans.
I think that the Bengals as an organization, most Bengals fans that I know, I love them. So I think that, do I think Joe Burrow is like the second coming of Christ? No. I think he's a good quarterback with really good weapons around him.
Thank you.
But he's not amazing. Like there's a reason why, like, in the playoff runs, they don't win because of Joe Burrow.
At all.
So I think that with the, this is kind of the last couple of years that I think that the Bengals have maybe this year and next year before, some key pieces leave and they're kind of struggling a little bit more. But I still think they're a Super Bowl contender.
I think this year is the last year that they're gonna have this level of an arsenal as far as weaponry goes.
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to pay T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar
and eventually
Chase,
Lou Anarumo, their defensive coordinator, is going to become a head coach eventually. So he's the lifeblood of that defense, and he puts so much energy in them. It's kind of like Steve Spagnuolo for the Chiefs. Those
Mhm.
guys, they are just absolutely intense defensive coordinators. So yeah, I definitely think that the Bengals, they've got a window here soon
Mhm.
that they need to capitalize on. But I think that, the way they've drafted and stuff hasn't really been conducive for once they, don't have these top 10 picks anymore because they can't pay all of them, then, they're going to take a step back. But I still think they're a Super Bowl contender this year.
I disagree with that slightly. I think they have drafted well in terms of replace. Like they lost Jesse Bates, they go out and they get Daxton Hill. They draft offensive linemen. I think they lost a linebacker, so they drafted a linebacker. I think that they're doing okay with that. The only problem is the same problem that we have. You competing for a Super Bowl. So
Mhm.
like you can bring in this talent and pray to God that it works and that they develop the way you want them to, but they're not proven commodities.
Yep.
So until they are, you really can't depend on them to be that. And that inherently is a problem. So I agree, Super Bowl contenders.
All right. Next team, Denver Broncos.
This is a rough one. I say mid.
That's, that's what I think. There we go. I was like, what is going on?
I don't know what's going on.
I think they're mid. I really, until I see anything more from Russell Wilson this year,
Yeah,
like I want to still believe that Russell Wilson is dangerous and stuff like that. But
yeah.
I don't know. This team's got a bunch of question marks all over it.
If
So
if Nathaniel Hackett was still the coach, they'd be legit trash. But since now that it's Sean Payton with Russell Wilson, I'll give
I
him the benefit of the doubt.
yeah, I think that offense is going to be a little bit more creative, and I think that it's going to. You're not going to see the blunders that you saw with Nathaniel Hackett because you've got a guy who's been there and he's done that. So I think putting them at mid right now is like a normal. Like I think they're going to be a okay team. They'll be okay, and at best they could be a fringe playoff team like the Saints.
Yeah, right.
So
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's a large step back from them being called Super Bowl contenders, but they're still they still have a chance. Next one, New York Giants,
A
playoff team,
playoff team. Yeah.
playoff team,
They
easy.
are a playoff team. They made
Yeah,
playoffs last year. You don't expect them to be much better this year, but
mm,
you do expect them to maybe get better, maybe get slightly worse. Either way, I
yeah,
think the playoff team is a fair ranking for them.
yeah. I still think that they're the second team in their division, if not pushing, the Eagles a little bit more than they have in the past. So I think that the Giants are easy. I think that's an easy just playoff team.
Yeah.
Next, the Minnesota Vikings.
I got the
Justice.
Vikings at slightly less mid, because I feel like they are a potential playoff team. But if you're in a division where the Lions, the Bears, and the Packers all are legitimate threats to
Mhm.
take the North,
Yeah,
then that means you aren't good enough. And you can't really be deemed a playoff team yet because you still got to win your division, and you got to still win your division versus mediocre teams. So I got
yeah,
the
and
slightly less mid.
you need to not get bounced in the playoffs so easily.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that you could make a case that they're like bottom of playoff team, but I think
yeah,
they're top of slightly less mid.
yeah.
Uh, LA
Ooh,
Rams.
legit trash.
I was thinking mediocre at best.
What do they have though?
They still
Oh,
have
Matt Stafford should
they
might be
have
back
Matt
this year.
Stafford. They still have Cooper Cup. They
Cooper
have
Cup,
Aaron
Aaron
Donald.
Donald. Yeah, that's true. All right, fair
So
enough.
I think they're mediocre at best. I
Just
think
those names alone leave you not legit trash. So
legit
that's fair.
trash. Exactly. Now here's the team that we can talk about. The
Mm.
the Buccaneers.
I got them at mediocre at best too.
I think they're also mediocre at best. I
I
think that,
don't. Nothing excites me. They got what, Baker Mayfield at quarterback.
yeah, either Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask, whoever they're going to have play there, or if they still have Blaine Gabbert. So,
Wow,
it's you got those guys. I think that, even though they still have Godwin and they have Mike Evans and
how far the mighty have fallen.
yeah, like
Jesus.
they're going to be, they could push for mid this year, but I
Oh
think they're
yeah, yeah,
mediocre at
maybe.
best.
At this very point, they're mediocre at best.
Yeah. The Lions.
I got them a slightly less mid too. I think they're
I
a really scrappy team.
Yeah, and really I like them more than the Saints,
Yeah, I like them
like
more than the Vikings, if I'm being honest.
I like them more than the Vikings too, but I don't know if I can take
The
Jared Goff
Vikings have
over.
Justin Jefferson,
Yeah.
and that right there is enough. And I think actually they went out and got some. They got Jordan Addison
Yeah,
this year
Addison,
too.
yeah. And they
Oh
still have
crap! All
uh
right, fair enough. Okay,
yeah. So they also, like, I know that people are going to be like, "Oh, well, the Lions, they have,
they drafted well.
yeah, they draft really, really well. Their defense is really good, and also their start, what's his name? Amon-Ra St. Brown is an absolute stud. You know, my problem is that Jared Goff is throwing the ball to him, and Jared Goff can be up and down. So
Oh, okay, that's fair.
that's my only problem with that. Not saying that Kirk Cousins can't be, because we all know Kirk Cousins can be up and down too. I just think there's a lot more talent on that Vikings team.
So
That's a little bit more proven than all the talent on the Lions team.
yes, I agree with you there as far as it's proven. However, I will say Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what running. Oh, Jameer Gibbs. They
Yep.
just got. They got Jack Campbell over on the defense. I think they have the number. Oh, Aiden Hutchinson from
Aiden, yep.
so like they've got talent as well. I
Yeah.
think Justin Jefferson alone is just like he's a dog. So at this very moment, I think that the Vikings as a team is better than the Lions,
Yeah.
or at least on paper. However, I'm just saying that my prediction would be that the Lions are going to finish better than the Vikings.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we'll do actual record predictions too, before the actual season starts, so that we can see how, close we get. But the next team we're sticking in that division, the Chicago Bears, spent a
Yeah,
lot of money
mid,
in free agency.
mid is fair.
I think they're mid. I think
Because the whole division is in that mid to slightly mid
yeah.
territory, but I feel like they're historically in recent history they've been the worst team bar none. So they kind of have to earn their way out of that position in order to get into that slightly less mid position.
Sarah, I would also probably pick the Lions. If I had to pick right now who I think is going to win that NFC North, I think it's probably the Lions. Not going to
Yeah,
lie.
I got it between the Lions and the Bears, if I'm being honest.
Really? Between the Lions
Mm-hmm.
and Bear? I think it's between the Lions and Fight, but I think all those teams could feasibly win it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what Jordan Love is going to look like, but Jordan Love isn't inheriting some bum team, so
And they said he's looked pretty good in camp.
yeah, so we'll see. We've got the San Francisco 49ers. I think they're a playoff team. Easy top playoff
Oh,
team.
I got them as Super Bowl contenders, bro. Just only because they're in
Really?
the NFC. Because they're in the NFC. The NFC is hot boo boo garbage. And they were in the NFC Championship last year.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, if they didn't lose their quarterback, they might have been in the Super Bowl.
You know
If they
what?
didn't lose all three of their quarterbacks, they
You know
might have
what?
been in the
And
Super
I
Bowl.
think this year, I can't wait. That's actually the only other game that I'm really excited to watch this weekend is Sam Darnold
Yeah.
getting the reps as the starter in the second preseason game. Because
Mhm.
in my brain, I've always said, and multiple times through the different networks we've been on, that I think Sam Darnold in a Kyle Shanahan system makes way too much sense.
Yeah,
And I
we
think,
both have spoken his praises. Like
yeah,
after he left the Jets, we were like, he's a good quarterback. They just suck.
Yeah, and like he was doing good with the Panthers too before, he kind of had a couple bad games and then Matt Rule was trying to save his job, so then they brought in Baker Mayfield and all that, and then they tried Cam Newton again. They tried that experiment again. So he's just had like a really tough time trying to finally get that spot. And I think Kyle Shanahan, we've seen what Kyle Shanahan is able to do with like lesser quarterbacks, and I think that Sam Darnold has more talent in his left pinky than some of those quarterbacks that Kyle Shanahan has coached to have good seasons. So
Jimmy
I think,
Garoppolo this.
yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, Super Bowl contender. I think you're right on that one. I think you're actually spot on. Super Bowl favorite. I think you got to put the Eagles there.
Oh, for sure. That's not even a
Eagles are a
debate.
Super Bowl favorite.
They are a superpower in the NFL
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt in my mind.
I
Any
would say there's. Well, we'll talk about it later. Go
okay.
ahead.
I was about to say, I can sing the Eagles' praises all day. I like what they've done. I like how they're going about it. I think they've taken the right approach, and there's a reason why they were in the Super Bowl last year. And I think that easily putting them in Super Bowl favorites is good. We've got the Raiders. Okay, this team is mid.
The Jimmy Garoppolo Raiders.
That makes them even more mid.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they're not mediocre because they actually have a pretty decent roster. I just don't think that they're going to be able to do anything significant with that roster, which means that they're mid.
Yeah, I think so too. So that was an easy mid for me. Let's go with the Packers. What are we thinking about the Packers?
They're in that tier with the rest of the North. But I got them at mid because I feel like again they're another team. They were mid last season and they had maybe the most talented quarterback to ever touch a football. So now you don't have that quarterback anymore, and you still have essentially the same team minus a few receivers.
Yeah.
You drafted some good talent, but you got to see that pan out. So
Yeah.
I got them at mid.
Yeah. Where would you put them in mid in the hierarchy? I think they're better than the Raiders.
I would put them over the Bears.
Okay, but not over the
No,
Broncos
not
because the
over the
Broncos
Broncos.
still have Russell Wilson. However
Exactly.
you feel about that. All right. Washington
Commanders.
Washington football commander skins. What do we think?
Football commander skins is hilarious. That's a tough one.
I think they're like bottom of slightly less mid to top of mid. Like they're
But see, that's the thing though, because Sam Howell is their quarterback. Like
yeah.
nothing about their team excites me. Like I don't even know who they drafted this year.
I couldn't tell you either.
And like they're like Chase Young, a beast. Montez Sweat, oh, absolutely. Their whole defensive line,
Their defensive
actually, is
line
really
is
nice.
amazing, man.
But then outside of that, it's like Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, and then nothing really else. So I mean, I don't know. I think actually right there where you got them, I actually think that
I like them a
the
little bit
defense
more
goes.
than the Raiders. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of where I've got them. Now, I made this tier just for this team. Really, in all reality, I made it just for this team.
terrible.
Legit trash. They're going to have the number 1 pick this year.
Yeah,
Like they are
terrible.
going to be terrible.
They
And
might
that
draft
number
a
1
quarterback.
pick, yeah, and that pick might replace Kyler Murray.
It might be Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it could be Caleb Williams. So I think the Cardinals. Do we have to say anything more about them? They're trash. They're gonna their roster looks absolutely terrible. So
Garbage. They traded. Yeah, no garbage.
when all their guys want to be traded away,
the Texans and still are garbage. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, like they don't have DeAndre Hopkins anymore. Buda Baker pretty much just checked out. He doesn't even care. Like, so it's like, okay,
might as well just give us Isaiah Simmons, to be honest.
Literally, please. That's a trade I would make. Please, just
I would be able to do that.
I'll give you all the monies for that. So, the Steelers.
I've got the Steelers as slightly less mid because Mike Tomlin is yet to have a losing season, and that
Which
needs to
is
be acknowledged.
absolutely insane because I thought for sure they were going to have it last year.
Exactly, and that's exactly my point. Because if I'm thinking logically about what the Steelers can do, I'm like, oh, they suck. Like I'm not worried about the Steelers in the least
Dude, their
slightest.
defense is game
But
changing.
the defense is really good. George Pickens is really good.
Yeah.
Deontay Johnson is good.
And I
Najee
think
Harris,
Kenny Pickett, I think is
he's pretty good.
He was okay
And,
his first year. So
and on top of all that, Mike Tomlin can always make the sum of his parts, worth more than the pieces alone. So, and again, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but I think that they have the opportunity to threaten, that race in their division. So I think slightly less mid is fair.
yeah, and I think they're better than the Saints. I like their roster a little bit more than the Saints roster. So just as their defense as a whole and what they have on offense, I think that they're kind of in this category. Bills, not even trying to be like biased.
Oh, okay.
I
was trying to see where you was gonna put them. I was like,
no, like
they're Super Bowl favorites.
They're a Super Bowl favorite. I feel like there's only a handful of teams that are really Super Bowl, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, "How are you going to put the Bengals in contenders?" But when the Bengals absolutely stomped the Bills, look, you still cannot tell me that the talent on the Bills and how that this is kind of how I look at this. Look at what left the Bengals, and look at what the Bills brought in. The Bills didn't really lose anybody except for Tremaine Edmonds, who's a huge loss. And some people don't think so, but we do. I know me and you do. So the Bengals lost both of their safeties. And as much as people clown on them, they also lost Eli Apple. Like,
who was playing valuable minutes for them.
Yeah. So I still think that they've got a couple of things that I think the Bills have kind of stayed the same and maybe gotten slightly better or are the same because of the things they brought in and what they've lost kind of evening out. I think the Bengals kind of haven't brought anything in to kind of rest their case of them being better than they were last year. So I think there's a reason, the Bills, I think of the Bills actually played that game against the Bengals earlier in the year or later in the year when the whole DeMar Hamlin situation happened.
They would have had a better playbook.
They would have had a better game plan to know how to attack the Bengals in the playoffs. So that's how I make this. So the Atlanta Falcons could be legit trash, but I think Desmond Ritter's terrible. I'm sorry. Bottom of mediocre at best.
Drake London is cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of Drake London coming out of college, not gonna lie, but he's okay. Kyle Pitts is good. They got Cordell Patterson and Bijan Robinson. That's just that. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I feel like mediocre at best may be fair.
Yeah,
but,
they're probably bottom. Like if this list was this long, they'd be like here. But they're not as gonna. I don't think they're gonna be as bad as the Cardinals. So there's not a team left on here that I think we will put in legit trash. I don't think so. I mean, maybe
the Texans, maybe.
I know. We'll get there when we, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now,
Seahawks is a playoff team.
Let's see. Were we outmatched, outplayed by the Bengals, or was it all we went through? No excuses. No, there's no excuses for that.
No, we got outcoached.
Yeah, we got absolutely.
And that's not
outgained.
That's more of an indictment on our coaching staff than it is a compliment to the Bengals coaching staff. Our coaching staff went out there and laid a complete egg.
Yep, exactly. Let's go with the Seattle Seahawks, which with newly paid Geno Smith, baby.
What?
I said they were gonna be
paid. Oh my god!
I said they were gonna be legit trash last year and win the number 1 pick, and they did not.
Hey, Don't feel too bad because I said the Bengals was gonna be trash.
Yeah, I remember that show. I remember the show.
Yeah, we was
So
both wrong as hell.
yeah, that was bad.
I got the Seahawks as a playoff team, man. Geno Smith has been balling. I think that we owe Pete Carroll a apology as a nation because I'm not gonna lie, I thought Russell Wilson made his entire career. It turns out that it might be the other way around.
Yeah, it's a Tom Brady
Geno's
Belichick reverse.
Yeah, exactly. Geno Smith looks really good. Geno Smith looks good, really good for his standards.
Yeah.
To think about how long. Think about how long ago we drafted EJ Manuel.
Oh my
They
God.
came in the same draft. EJ Manuel's been retired for like a decade. Geno Smith is now balling out so it's crazy.
Yeah,
they got Kenneth Walker, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Seahawks is going crazy right now.
Yeah, dude.
So I think
their defensive line took a hit when they lost Poona Ford and Al Woods, but you know, I think they'll be just fine. Pete Carroll will be able to get around that. New England Patriots this year, I think
say mid.
Bottom of the mid. Yeah.
Yeah, they mid.
Like
they're not mediocre, they mid.
Yeah, I think so. The Browns, I think, are in slightly less mid.
See, I would say that, but I feel like they have to.
Do they need to earn slightly less mid?
They gotta earn it because they haven't. If we're going based off of last season, they're mid.
Yeah.
We're all assuming they're going to be better this year for whatever reason because Deshaun Watson is going to be a magic man now. I don't know, but I don't know. Man. I feel like they got to earn it, man, because we talking about all these other teams, right? The Falcons could be better. Bijan Robinson could be crazy and go off, right? The Bears could easily be a playoff team this year, right? The Broncos might go back to being a playoff team this year. Like, we could go off of projections, but the Browns sucked last year.
When you look at the Browns, their roster, I think, is good. However, when I look at your division and I see two teams that I think are obviously better than you, that also makes me think, okay, is there a chance that there's going to be three really good teams there? Possibly. I don't know what Deshaun Watson's really going to look like. Nobody does. You know, we'll have to really see. You know, we kind of saw a small sample size, but not enough. So I think that
whose roster is better? Whose roster is better?
Let's see.
The Browns or the Broncos?
The Browns or the Broncos? I think the Browns roster is better.
They got a better running back. Broncos have better receiving core.
Mm-hmm.
Browns have a better offensive line. Broncos have a better defensive line.
Maybe not. I don't know.
All right, I'll give you Browns. Browns because they got a good secondary. I'll give you Browns.
I think that
I'm cool with that. I still think they gotta earn it, but I'm cool with them being at the bottom of slightly less mid.
Okay.
Because they drafted really well. I will say that. They took a lot of players where I was like, damn, I wanted him.
I wanted that guy. Yeah. Especially they got Owusu-Koramoah the year before, and I wanted him so bad, and he was good. Like I was so upset.
I was so mad.
Because how many years have so what? We've been doing this going on
3 years.
3 years now. We've gone through 3 drafts, and kind of like when I looked at these guys that we've been trying to prepare for Tremaine Edmonds leaving for the last 3 years. Yeah. Like me and you, when we pick our guys, it's kind of like we should get a good linebacker, and like they never do it. And and then they lost Tremaine Edmonds, and I was like,
and then Jack Campbell got drafted in the first round. I was like, oh damn,
So
Nolan Smith, nope.
Yeah. All right, the Texans.
Nope.
I think Texans are like in the same stratosphere as the Falcons.
Why?
Because I really like their drafts that they have. I think that, CJ, as much as, the Sky Crane, the giant neck quarterback, I'm trying to remember his name. The that they've had, Davis Mills was okay. They were in a ton of games still
That's
with
true.
him, and I think CJ Stroud is more talented than Davis Mills.
For sure.
So, and I think that, their defense is okay. I think they kind of upgraded in free agency, especially at, running back. They already had Damian Pierce, but now they have Damian Pierce and, Devin Singletary.
This is true.
So I think they're kind of in that. They're still going to be a mediocre team.
Oh my God! And they got Mechie.
Yeah.
And they
So
got Tank Dell.
yeah. So I think they're young, and they're kind of in the same boat as the Falcons.
They got some weapons for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I actually would put them above the Falcons. I don't really
above the Falcons. I wouldn't be opposed to that as well. Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl favorites.
Legit trash. Oh yeah. I mean,
yeah. I don't think we need to talk about the Chiefs.
Yeah,
people.
No. Listen, I actually, just to be fair, you should put them ahead of the Bills and the Eagles.
Oh, I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't even really think about the ordering there, but
because
yeah, definitely.
I will not concede that Patrick Mahomes is better than Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes plus Andy Reid is better than Josh Allen. Yes, Patrick Mahomes is not more talented than Josh Allen. But
I don't think this is a hot take, Sarah. Right, I don't think that's too hot. That's like KC. They win the Super Bowl. They lose Eric Bieniemy as much as anybody doesn't want to think that that's going to affect them. It'll affect the offensive game plan somewhat. Also, they take a step back, and people that they've lost, they're another team where they've lost talent. So. We'll see. Now, did that stop them last year? No.
I don't think it's a hot take in Bills Mafia, but around the league, I think that would be a hot take.
Maybe, but I feel like that's a take you'd see on ESPN too. So I don't think it's too crazy.
Somebody will want to be different. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So now we've got the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys I think are legitimately like the poster boy for slightly less mid. Like they're okay. They're like above. They're like average.
They're probably going to make the playoffs, but there's also a good chance that they won't.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. I mean, they've got the Giants and the Eagles in their division.
Oh, that's true.
Now they're just
the Commanders ain't nothing, ain't no slouch either.
So I don't think they're a better team roster wise than either the Giants or the Eagles. So
I agree. Yeah.
And then I'm a Dak Prescott
right
hater.
Next to him.
So. I'm a Dak Prescott.
Right next to him.
Yep. Right there too. I actually like the Chargers roster though more than.
Listen, hold on. Hold on. Before you say this, all right, they made the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Had a brilliant first half. Okay.
You don't have to explain to me. I know. I saw it. I watched it.
They let the Jaguars come back in the playoffs.
If the Jaguars are a good team,
No, that's not the point. That's not the point. I don't care if Jesus and all 12 disciples came down and started playing football. In the playoffs, if you're on 27-0, you need to win that game or you should lose your job. There's no way Brandon Staley should still be the head coach, especially after all the blunders that he's had. Nonetheless, I got them slightly less mid until I'm proven otherwise.
Okay, yeah. I mean, like, you can make the case they're bottom playoff team, but I think they're top slightly less mid.
Yeah, I agree.
Jets, I think Jets are top playoff team. I really think so. I know everybody wants to go out and say that, oh, the Jets last year were a quarterback away from being a team that, could have won the whole thing. I don't think so. I think that the Jets are a playoff team this year. I can't give them anything more than playoff team because that offensive line that they're playing with, I'm sorry, but like taking how like their fans are out of it and taking how, they seem to be talking about themselves super like with Hard Knocks and everything, they make it really sound like they're talking like there's some team who's been there, done that,
Yeah,
But like,
which is exactly their problem. They didn't go through the process. They're not gonna know how to win.
yeah, exactly. And I think that offensive line is worse than what Rodgers was playing behind last year in Green Bay. And I think that it's going to be a really tough time for them this year, but I still think that defense is good enough. And I think that, the weapons that they have on offense, Aaron Rodgers will do just enough to make them, get into the playoffs. So,
Yeah,
uh, Carolina Panthers,
mediocre at best.
that's where I kind of had them right now. They don't have kind of the even though
Much of anything.
they have they have Curtis Samuel, right? And then who's the other wide receiver that they have? Who's really good? Oh, why am I blanking? DJ Moore? No, he
Really?
left. He
Oh no,
left.
he left.
He
Yeah, he
left.
left.
He's on the Bears. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, um, we're going to put them in mediocre at best. Titans, I also just have as mid. I don't know where to put them
Yeah,
in mid though. You know, I don't
I think
know.
right. I think above Washington, but below Chicago.
Yeah, I think that's where, because I still think that, you know, Tannehill with Derrick Henry, with DeAndre Hopkins, I still think that offense is going to be efficient enough to still win games. But I don't think they're going to be anything to really like. There'll be a team that you kind of have to like, you will game plan for, obviously, but like they're not a team that's going to come out and whoop your ass. They're not that team.
Yeah,
So, uh, the Colts
I
this
think
year,
we're going to disagree on this one.
the Colts, I think.
I think we're
What are
going to
you
disagree
thinking?
on this one.
What are you thinking?
So now I'm doing a little projecting here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's not fair, especially after that long rant I've been on about the who did I talk about? I was talking crazy about them too, the Browns. Um, I got them at slightly less mid, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because their GM, I don't know why his name
Chris
just slipped
Ballard.
in my mind. Chris Ballard, thank you, is a great team builder. And he's had some really, really bad luck with quarterbacks. That has been his main downfall, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Anthony Richardson is a freak. I think that he's going to come in and be a really, really good quarterback. I think they're going to walk through the NFC South. And I think that defense is going to continue to get better. And I think that offense is going to be good. You got Alec Pierce. They got Josh Downs. Jonathan Taylor is probably going to come back. I think that they're going to be a real problem this year.
I still think, for all the things that you said, I think that their roster is comparable to the Green Bay Packers.
You think the Colts roster is worse than the Broncos roster?
I'm not saying it's worse than that roster. I'm just saying one team has Anthony Richardson, who's unproven, and the other team has Russell Wilson, who did win a Super Bowl at least and was a playoff contending quarterback. And they have Sean Payton, who has also won a Super Bowl. And I still think that the Colts are young
I
and
will concede to you,
inexperienced.
Sean Payton. I'll concede to you, Sean Payton. I think that Russell Wilson is just as unproven as far as
Oh,
as
come
far
on.
as this year is concerned.
Okay. All
As far
right.
as this year is concerned, he's just as unproven as Anthony Richardson to me.
Okay.
Because Anthony Richardson is coming in with a clean slate. Russell Wilson was hot booty last year. So
Yeah. I mean, you're not lying.
so
All right.
yeah.
We've
Them
got
I got
one.
as playoff team.
Yeah, I think they're a playoff team. I think they're better than
I wouldn't say Giants, but I would say Seahawks.
the Seahawks. Yeah, and I like them. I like Doug Peterson. I like basically the whole team. They get Calvin Ridley back this year. So they're gonna be a hell of a team. But that's the tier list.
That's a pretty good tier list, I think. I think that's pretty accurate.
I think so. I think this is.
I think a lot of Bills fans are going to be mad at us for adjusting the Dolphins, but
Probably, but I still think that the ceiling for those two teams is playoff
It's
team.
really
So
high,
yeah,
and we're being unbiased, like we're
yeah,
being objective, because if we're being real, there are three superpowers in the NFL. The Eagles just became a superpower, but before
yeah,
that, it was the Bills and the Chiefs. They were the superpowers.
yeah.
The Rams, kinda,
For
sorta,
like a
but
year. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But they're no longer that. They're Russian. They're no longer the Soviet Union. Um, I think that the Eagles have solidified themselves as a superpower, and I still think that the Bills and the Chiefs are the two best teams in the league.
I think the
So
only thing that we could actually change here that most people would probably, you know, like might get mad is I think you could move the Bills into Super Bowl contender. I still think because you know, they haven't beat
been to
Kansas
a Super
City.
Bowl.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
the Bengals went to a Super Bowl last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of I think you could also put this. I think this is maybe a little bit of our bias speaking when realistically they should be
See, I
top
I would
Super Bowl
say
contender.
not, because what we're talking about for this season, right?
Hmm.
And you have to of course you have to consider last season, but last
Yeah.
season was a very tumultuous year for the Bills and Buffalo as a whole. I think that playoff game versus the Bengals was an anomaly. I hope that don't ever happen again.
Yeah.
Um, I think that if the Bills and the Bengals played on a neutral site or in a dome stadium, I think the Bills win 7 times out of 10.
Okay.
Uh, so 6 times at least out of 10. So I do think that the Bills are still a superpower in the league. I just think that they need to fine tune and figure it out.
I
So
think
real quick,
go ahead.
shout out to y'all for having the viewers and the likes match up in the chat.
Oh
Shout
yeah,
out
I
to the
didn't even notice
chat.
that. Let's go.
Shout out chat.
Awesome. Awesome. I can't believe so many people tuned in at like 5. Usually we go on at like 9,
No,
at night when everybody's chilling out at home, maybe they want to
yeah,
watch the show.
that's just our
Maybe
time.
yeah, maybe we need to start going at like 5 when people are on their way home from work and they want to listen to
Yeah,
people. But of course, that takes us to the wrap up. And you saw the tier list. We've talked about the Bills in the preseason. The Bills play the Steelers tomorrow night, or if you're listening to this on the podcast, that'll drop on Saturday
they play
tonight.
tonight, boy.
So I still think that there's a lot of kinks that they got to figure out, things that are still kind of like up in the air, but we still got a couple weeks of preseason left. So Justice, if you wouldn't mind getting us out of here by doing the thing that you do best.
Yeah. First of all, let's hope our boys go out there and we come out of this with no injuries. All right. We want to come out healthy first and foremost. I don't care if we go out there and allow a 40-point loss.
Yeah.
Let our boys come out healthy. But we want to win, of course. So, let's go ahead. We're going to root our team on. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. Man, all the support you guys have been amazing today. Y'all had the chat going crazy. Great questions, great comments, great just overall
Yeah.
interaction,
Yeah.
with us, and we appreciate that, man. Like I said, yeah, I always tell y'all this, and I only say it because it's true. But
Thanks,
yo,
Sarah.
we appreciate all the likes and comments and retweets and or reposts right now.
Mhm.
Not even retweets no more. The shares, super chats. We got super chats going now. Like, we appreciate all the love and support you guys give. It would be pointless for us to sit here and talk to a computer if you guys, weren't here with us and giving us all the love and support that you guys do. So we thank you very much. But until next time, be sure to be on the lookout for the next Madden game. My boy Jake got Madden 24 now, so we got the official rosters for every team.
Yep.
So it's gonna,
And it
be
looks
a little
beautiful.
more. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't even
that
played the game yet.
that's the one thing I'll say about the new Madden is the graphics look like much better than
Okay.
Madden 23. It's not like a crazy upgrade, but it definitely looks better to where the presentation of the game is going to look so nice. I have so many cool ideas for it.
Oh, dope. I cannot wait to get into that. All right, guys. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Tune into all of the other great shows that we have on the channel. We got podcasts, we got live shows, we got everything you can look for. We're going to start having shorts. Guys, content is going to be coming like crazy this year. So make sure you guys tune in and follow the journey here with us at Buffalo FAMbase. So thank you guys, all you guys. We are the official network of the original Bills Mafia, and we are out.
Go Bills.